Rumors and leaks about a historic change in the American financial system have surfaced in recent months, with the potential to permanently alter the way money moves in the country. The supposed executive order that is occupying President Biden's desk is at the heart of this turmoil. It is a document that requires the attention of financial institutions, as well as anybody else who is concerned about the future of money. According to reports, this directive requires XRP to be the sole digital asset used to settle interbank transactions by all banks, utilizing FEDNOW, the Federal Reserve's new real-time payment infrastructure. Furthermore, this need goes beyond consumption. In order to ensure stability and liquidity inside this new infrastructure, each XRP coin must have a minimum value of $15,000, as acknowledged by the government. We must first go over FEDNOW's history and mission in order to comprehend the scope of this proposition. FEDNOW is the Fed's response to the growing demand for instantaneous payments around the world. FEDNOW promises round-the-clock, instantaneous payment clearing between banks in the US, in contrast to typical payment systems that have set hours and settle transactions over many days. Establishing an infrastructure that enables people and companies to send and receive money immediately, day or night, is the aim here. For banks and their clients, this would greatly modernize the payment environment, reduce delays, and simplify liquidity management. But when FEDNOW went live, a crucial hole appeared. The actual settlement or the final transfer of monies still relies on conventional banking rails, which, as you may know, do not function in real time, even though the system enables immediate messaging and payment instructions. This discontinuity actually restricts FEDNOW's full capability by causing friction in the system. Presenting XRP, a digital asset created especially for quick, low-cost, high-throughput cross-border settlements. The executive directive that was leaked claims that the Biden administration believes that XRP is the only practical way to close this gap. Because of its blockchain-based infrastructure's near-instant settlement speeds, great scalability, and cheap transaction fees, it is ideally suited to act as the FEDNOW ecosystem's backbone for real-time settlement. However, the paper goes one step further and contends that XRP needs to have a steady and high unit value in order to serve as this financial highway's fuel or settlement asset. This is where the novel idea of requiring or setting a minimum price of $15,000 per XRP currency enters the picture. Why then $15,000? According to reports, the order's modeling accounts for the enormous amounts of money that pass through US banking networks on a daily basis. Additionally, it takes into account the liquidity requirements necessary for immediate settlement. Since fewer tokens must be traded when the price of the token rises, network congestion is lessened and volatility risks are also reduced. The document likens the function of XRP to that of gasoline in an automobile or oil in an engine. In essence, it is a utility token that is required. For the system to function effectively at scale, a stable and sufficiently valuable fuel is actually required. The consequences would be profound if this demand were to become law. In order to fulfill their FEDNOW settlement requirements, institutions of all sizes, including community banks, credit unions, regional banks, and national banks, would be legally obligated to onboard XRP wallets and buy XRP coins. The market capitalization of XRP would rise into the tens of trillions of dollars as a result of the immediate and enormous demand this would create. Unprecedented growth in the use of digital assets would result from the ripple effects, to use a pun, that spread throughout the larger financial markets. However, despite the vision's attractive and captivating appearance, it encounters numerous practical and legal challenges. First and foremost, the price of any asset or commodity cannot be legally fixed by an executive decree. The foundation of the US financial markets is price discovery, fair competition, and market-driven valuations. There would almost probably be instant legal challenges against any attempt by the government to impose a fixed price, citing rights under the securities legislation and the Constitution. Courts would probably overturn such an order because it would be deemed an unlawful intervention in the economy, an abuse of executive power, and a violation of free market principles. Furthermore, the idea of the government dictating how digital assets should be used is completely at odds with the original spirit of cryptocurrency. The principles of decentralization, distrust, and independence from centralized authority gave rise to the cryptocurrency movement. Be aware that the crypto community may react negatively to this for the US. It would bring up serious issues regarding control, censorship, and, to be honest, the possibility of authoritarian manipulation in the financial system. And the complications don't stop there. Regardless of how the price floor is implemented, putting such a mandate into effect would require banks to restructure their current payment infrastructures, adhere to new regulatory frameworks controlling the custody of digital assets, and manage the risks associated with digital asset volatility. Financial institutions who are cautious of the associated risks and expenses may oppose the operational difficulties, which are numerous. This action can have geopolitical repercussions for international markets. As China continues to push its own digital yuan and alternative payment methods, the United States-China relationship may become even more strained if XRP is adopted as the foundation of US interbank settlement. In this continuing struggle for monetary and technical dominance, XRP's strategic placement within the FEDNOW system may be viewed as a financial countermeasure. In response, other countries may speed up their own digital currency projects, which might split the world financial system into rival digital blocks. This purported executive order provides a glimpse into the future of money despite the numerous obstacles. It draws attention to how governments are battling the emergence of decentralized technologies and the growing convergence of blockchain innovation and traditional banking. The general tendency is evident regardless of whether this precise mandate is ever implemented. Digital assets like XRP are evolving from experimental to essential components of contemporary finance's infrastructure. From a strategic standpoint, the government's interest in using XRP shows that it understands that fiat-based, controlled systems are insufficient to fulfill the needs of a globalized digital economy. Legacy systems lack the speed, openness, and efficiency that digital assets provide. FEDNOW's integration of XRP would be a hybrid strategy that leverages the benefits of decentralized technology while maintaining national control and regulatory oversight. Deeper philosophical and economic issues are also brought up by this situation. To what extent should governments regulate virtual currencies? If governmental actors mandate and control a digital asset, can it still be considered truly decentralized? If a single asset is made a required settlement layer, what are the implications for innovation, competitiveness, and privacy? And if XRP becomes that dominant, what will happen to other cryptocurrencies? Critics contend that by concentrating too much settlement power in a single digital asset, such a top-down strategy will hinder innovation, strengthen monopolies, and raise systemic risks. However, proponents may argue that such regulations are necessary to establish strong, dependable infrastructure, just as the US government has previously regulated and required standards for electricity, telecommunications, and banking. The tale of XRP and FEDNOW is representative of a larger financial revolution, regardless of the conclusion. You see, it is a microcosm of the continuous conflict between freedom and order, decentralization and control, and innovation and regulation. The use of blockchain technology by the US government shows that digital assets are no longer merely an interesting or dangerous concept. They are a reality that needs to be managed, assimilated, and perhaps even used to the benefit of the country. The possible effects on average Americans are, well, quite significant. Payroll and the delivery of social benefits could both benefit from quicker, less expensive, and more transparent payments. However, forced adoption of XRP at a set price may also give rise to questions of privacy, access, and market fairness. The next few years will be crucial in determining how these technologies develop and, to be honest, who stands to gain in the end. In conclusion, this purported executive order illustrates the enormous potential and difficulties of incorporating blockchain technology into the framework of national finance, even though it may or may not serve as a model for the future. It really emphasizes how important it is to comprehend digital assets as the cornerstones of the monetary system of the future, not merely as speculative speculations. As usual, the true story will be revealed gradually, influenced by court cases, advancements in technology, political discussions, and the always fluctuating dynamics of the world economy. For now, this is a reminder to keep yourself updated, to remain inquisitive, and to keep a careful eye on how the distinctions between digital currencies and traditional banking continue to morph and change our world. Disclaimer. Please keep in mind that the information in these videos is just for amusement purposes and that I am not a licensed financial advisor. Before making any financial decisions, I always advise viewers to do their own